Okay, we're talking about some of my absolute favorite series today because a little bit ago, I don't remember how many weeks ago, I did my favorite companion novel series. So books that follow different couples. And I had said in that one, I'm like, I have so many that follow the same couple that if y'all would want to see a video of me talking about series that follow one couple in particular, and y'all said yes. And even if you would have said no, guess what? I would have done that anyways. But glad to know that you guys are into it as well. As I was going through, I realized that I actually have way more of these kind of series than I thought I did. I think I actually have like 16. So I did narrow it down and I only did 8 for today's purposes. If you guys like this one, I could definitely do a part 2. Also, yes, my shirt is monogrammed. I'm trying to like cover it. My sister-in-law got these for all of the bridesmaids for my brother's wedding when they got married a couple years ago, but now like I never get to wear it otherwise. Whatever, we're gonna try to like cover it up with the ponytail a little bit. That's what we're gonna do today, and let's just go ahead and jump right in. So what do I want to start first off? I feel like y'all know some of these that are gonna be coming, so let me maybe start with one that I haven't talked about as much lately, and that's going to be the Skyscraper Cinderella trilogy by Kay Webster. So I have the bind up. Otherwise, the books, like the covers are a little bit different. This is the one for just like all 3 of them in one. So I know this looks thick and intimidating, but it's literally 3 books. So you're getting like what, 800 pages, 700 pages divided amongst 3 books. So very quick, easy to binge. So this one follows Ash and Winston. It's kind of like Cinderella inspired, obviously, Skyscraper Cinderella. So Ash is a maid or like a custodian on the custodial staff at this one huge high-rise kind of building, working for this very bougie family and like company. And she one night is cleaning out the head honcho's office, and she just like, she doesn't really end up doing much cleaning. She eats some of his candy that's on his desk. She just doesn't really care. She more like needs the money, but she's kind of like, she just doesn't really feel like working that much. In the morning when Winston, who is the CEO, views back the footage of who was in his office cleaning and sees her like kicking her feet up on his desk and everything, he's like, oh hell no, someone call in this person and I'm firing her myself. As soon as she walks in, he's immediately like, wait, I don't want to fire this girl. I actually want to, you know, with this girl. So instead, well, he still does fire her, but instead he offers her another opportunity because like I said, she does need money. And he's like, hey, you're not going to clean here anymore, but what if I pay for you to have a certain kind of like arrangement with me? Because he has very specific needs. He's very dominant and he just wants someone that will kind of do what he says. He's kind of looking for a bit of a submissive. And Ash realizes that she's kind of into the same things that he's into, and she agrees to his arrangement, and it goes from there. 3 books following this. It is in like an interconnected series between authors, but you do not need to read any of the other books in order to understand this, nor do you really feel like you need to read any of the others after you finish this one. Like, yes, you'll see some overlap of other characters if you read the other series, but by no way, shape, or form do you have to read the other ones in order to understand this story. It's just really hot. It's just a really fun trilogy. Lots of drama. I mean, obviously they're billionaires, so they got tons of money, and like there's just corruption. So good. Next up, let's make my way through the physical stack that I have here, and then we'll get into like the ones that I don't own personally. So the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. So this one also is another bind up. However, this one is 5 novellas into this one big chunker right here. So this one follows Lana and Logan. So this one is a serial killer, FBI profiler romance. Lana is a serial killer. She has a list of men that she is hunting down and making them pay for their crimes. And one day when she's in a coffee shop, she just legitimately happens to bump into this guy, and they kind of like hit it off a little bit, and he happens to be Logan. And as they get to know each other more, Lana learns that, well, no, I think from the first interaction, she knows that he's a cop. So she like tries to stay away a little bit. But once they get to know each other more, because she like is very intrigued by him and he's intrigued by her. And once they get to know each other, she realizes that he is an FBI profiler, and he is actually profiling her case and trying to catch her. But he doesn't realize that the woman that he's dating now is the one that he's trying to catch. But Lana is aware that he is trying to catch her, and it's their romance. This is definitely dark, so if you're not like ready for a dark romance, then sorry about this one. But if you love a dark romance and like a revenge plot, so good. Supporting women's wrongs, supporting Lana all the way here. 5 novellas, each leaves off with a cliffhanger, so definitely keeps you diving into one after another. Super, super bingeable, very easy to read. And just like the plot is interesting. Their romance is good. I would say I personally love the plot of this one more, and I love Lana so much, but I do really like their romance. And you're kind of like, obviously, how are things going to work out? Because it's going to reach a certain point where things are going to get too complicated between the two of them, but you'll just have to wait and see how it all works out. And it's just so good. I feel like this is a very universally loved series. I really don't see many people not like it, or like not even just not like it, but not love it. So amazing. I feel like you guys are probably like, why aren't you talking about this one yet? Because I talk about it all the time, so I'm kind of waiting. So again, we're going to put it off, talk about another one. We'll get to it next. So anyways, next up is the Wolf Hotel series by K.A. Tucker. So I read these last summer, and normally when I read series, I don't tend to read them back to back to back. I used to. Like when I read the last 2 series, I read those back to back, and I used to do that all the time. But when I read this, I had to go back to my roots and read them one after another because they're so freaking bingeable. They're so good. So you kick off with Tempt Me. This is book 1. And then Break Me, book 2, my personal favorite. And then Teach Me, book 3. And then lastly, Surrender to Me, book 4. So this one follows Abby and Henry. So Abby, she grew up in a very small religious town, and she went to college, and she's been dating the same guy for a long time. He's the pastor's son from back home. Like, just very much has her life kind of set out of what it's supposed to be. And she's just been like a good girl, you know, like always done what's expected of her, whatever. And she's at college. When something happens with her and her boyfriend and they break up, she's like, screw this, screw you all. I just need to like get out of here. I need to get somewhere else and really have kind of like a bit of a fresh start. So she ends up going to this job fair where she sees a job at the Wolf Hotel, which is a hotel out in Alaska. And she ends up applying and she gets accepted. And when she gets out there, she's originally supposed to be a part of the landscaping crew, but there's a mix-up, and she ends up being the personal assistant to Henry Wolf, the owner of the Wolf Hotel, and it's their romance. This series is so good. It's so addictive. It's very drama filled because once again, Henry's got a lot of money, so you get like that high rolling kind of like bougie lifestyle, but Abby is very much the opposite. Like she comes from a literal farm, so it's very much opposites attract in that sense. Abby is very innocent. Like I said, she grew up in a very like, she just grew up in an environment where she wasn't really allowed to like explore herself at all. So then when she gets out there, she gets to do some of that and do some of that with her new boss. And it's just amazing. It's so fun. It's so spicy. Definitely like the character progression in Abby. I'm going to be honest, in this book, she kind of annoyed me, but you really see her growth over the course of the series, and I can really appreciate that. I read these because Cheyenne talks about them all the time and how much she loved them, and I'm so glad that I finally listened to her and gave them a go because they were truly such a fun time. I absolutely love this series. Next up, let's get it out of the way because y'all know what's coming. I talk about them all the time because they're my babies. If this is the first video that you're ever watching of me, then you're probably not annoyed with me. But if you watch a lot of my videos, then you're probably like, shut up, Michaela, shut up. But I can't. I'll never shut up about these two. So this is the Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. It's 5 books. I just brought in the volumes because otherwise it was easier to grab 2 books off my shelves than 5. So these are books 1 through 3, and this is books 4 and 5. Wow, do basic math. If you don't know about this series yet, it's not going to be for everyone because it's a very forbidden, taboo, age gap, coach-athlete romance. So this one follows Rhea and Kova. So Rhea really has dreams of becoming an Olympic gymnast, and the gym that she's at right now and the coach that she has right now is just not getting her to that level that she needs to compete at that highest level. So she begs her dad, who is pretty, like her family's very rich, so she has that opportunity to kind of go wherever she needs to go. And she begs her dad, she's like, please, I need to go to another gym. Please find me another gym. And he's like, hey, let me call up my buddy Kova, who is a former Olympic athlete, and he just bought a gym. Let me give him a call, see if he's willing to take you on. And Kova's like, sure, bring her out, let me see. And when she gets there, Rhea thinks that she's like at a much higher level than what she is, and Kova quickly humbles her and is like, you are not ready for this level, you need so much help. And he's like, but as a favor to your dad, I'm willing to kind of take you on to get you to where you want to be, or try to get you to where you want to be. And it's their romance. It spans over the course of 5 books. They are so toxic together in the beginning. It's truly like, it's a very toxic relationship at the beginning. Koba is such an asshole. I promise you, you have to give him, you're gonna hate him in the first book. You're probably still gonna hate him in the second book. You might even still hate him in the third book, but I promise you the fourth book is his big redemption arc. And in the fifth book, you're like, I would do anything for this man. Even for me, I was never like, I never hated him as much as I probably should have. You go on a journey with that man, and you also go on such a journey with Rhea on her goals in her gymnastics life, but also in her personal life. She faces a lot of hurdles, a lot of things to overcome. There's cheating in this book. I personally don't care, but if that's something for you, they're cheating to be with each other. So if that bothers you, just be aware of that going in here. I just love this whole series with my whole heart and soul. I'm currently rereading it right now because me, Caitlin from the Love Library, and Cheyenne from That's Whole Book Girl are all doing a reread along of this, and I'm just thriving. These are just, it's my absolute favorite series of all time. This is my favorite couple of all time. Talk about the definition of soulmates. Talk about the definition of a couple going through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows together and coming out stronger. It's just truly remarkable. I love it so much. I could talk about it all day. I talk about it all the time. This is like the ultimate embodiment to me of like a one couple series where you're like, why would I need 5 books with a couple? But when you see this, you're like, oh, I do need all 5 books, because they both go through so much growth individually and together, and it's just beautiful. And it's why I love one couple series so much. Next up, let's go with another bit of a taboo one. And that is the Wanting Mr. Kane series by Shanora Williams. It's 3 books with a little novella. I haven't read the novella, but I've finished like the trilogy itself. So this one is an age gap forbidden dad's best friend romance. So this one follows Candy and Quentin, aka Mr. Kane. And Candy, she has always had a crush on her dad's best friend. And as she's grown older, she just always had like a close relationship with him and always kind of like wanted his approval. And then when she now is graduated and she's getting ready to go off to college, she's like, you know what? I want some experience, and I want this experience to happen with Mr. Kane. And now that I'm old enough, I'm going to go after what I want. And Quentin doesn't know what to do when Candy like all of a sudden starts kind of coming onto him. He's very much like, I can't do this. He has a lot of hurdles to get through with her dad being his best friend, but also there's things with the dad's past that he kind of feels like he owes her dad. So it kind of adds that extra layer of him like really not wanting to cross that line. But he starts seeing Candy in a different light when she's making these advances, and he just decides that he cannot deny her anymore. And you know what? Thank you, Mr. Kane, for not, because I enjoyed this ride between the two of them. This first book is my favorite. It's so good. It's so hot. It's so fun. It's like the hiding, the sneaking around. The cliffhanger on this one is insane. And then the rest of the series just goes like, it gets crazy. It gets real crazy at times. So it's just like a fun roller coaster. You don't really know what's going to be around the corner next, because Shanora Williams just pulls a lot out of her hat and throws it in there. And it's just a fun time. Love this trilogy. And I will read the novella at some point, but I just haven't yet. Because, you know, I don't need to see them happy. Once they're already happy, I'm like, cool, go live your lives, you know? Literally see them. They're right there, but I didn't feel like pulling them all off. And that's the After series by Anna Todd. Hate me if you want. I don't care. Judge me if you want. I don't care. I'm throwing this in here because truly this series is the series that got me into romance. This was my first ever romance book that I ever read. I didn't realize that a genre like this existed. I thought that there were only historical romances out there or like Nicholas Sparks shit. I didn't realize that there was this kind of stuff existing out there in books. And as soon as I read this, I was like, I need more. And I'm here now. So I'm including it here. I don't think that this series is going to be for everyone. If you're early on in your romance journey, you might really like this still. Me personally, when I just reread this, I still loved it, but I kind of have that nostalgia factor with it. I don't know if every single person is going to love this series. Actually, I know not every single person is going to love this series, but I do. And if you love toxic romances, this is like my OG. So this one follows Hardin and Tessa. And yes, if you didn't know that this did originally start as a fan fiction, I'm not going to get into it here. I didn't know that when I first read it, and you know, I don't care. I still don't care. So Tessa is starting her freshman year of college. She is a very much a good girl. She gets good grades. She's very like academically driven. She has a good boyfriend that has been her best friend for a while, and they're dating, and they're just like, you know, they're just like a good couple. They're like kind of the all-American kind of couple, whatever. And when she gets to college, she gets paired with this one roommate who's very edgy, like just, she's not even that edgy, but compared to Tessa, she is. And she kind of helps encourage Tessa to like get out there, go to some parties, you know, like explore herself a little bit. Through this whole situation, she ends up meeting Hardin, who is like a bad boy. He's from the UK. He's got an accent. He's got tattoos. He does whatever he wants. He's rude. And she immediately is like, I hate you. But then we know how thin that line is between love and hate. And they end up in a relationship together. 4 books, or actually, no, it's 5 books, but 4 following them. And then the 5th book is like some stuff from Hardin's POV from like before this book took place. And then like a few scenes, I think, from his POV. I don't know, that book was boring to me. And you follow them over their time in college, and it's just insane. The highs that these go through and the lows that they go through, there is so much back and forth. Just when you think they get on the same page about something, you turn to the next chapter and they're fighting again. It is so toxic. They're so bad for each other, but yet they're like, they can't stay away from each other. And it just makes for such an interesting dynamic to read. It's so fun for me. Like, I really love back and forth. I hate when they're just like happy and in love for like half the book. You're not going to get this in here. You're going to get so much fighting that you're almost going to be like, at some points, like, get it together, y'all. But they can't. They can't. They just go back and forth. It's just great, okay? I love it. I feel like it's very popular. A lot of people have probably read it already, but I don't care. Okay, I have two more series to talk about. So next up is one of, oh, it's a why choose. Okay, fun. Okay, Rock Hard Beautiful series by C.M. Stunich. So the first one is Groupie, Rhodey, Moxie, 3 books, following the same 6 characters. So this one follows Lilith, and it's a rock star why choose romance. So Lilith truly is down bad. She has like 0 money. She's kicked out of her home. She just has her car, but her car is in like horrible shape. And I believe her dad dies at the beginning of this, or like her dad's already dead when you start the book, and she's trying to get home for his funeral. So she has these concert tickets that she's trying to sell in order to get some money to go home, and she's really struggling to sell them, and she ends up, her car breaks down in the parking lot of the venue or whatever, and as she's wandering through the parking lot trying to like, I think then she's like, screw it, I'm gonna go into the show. And she ends up running into this one dude, and he's like, congrats, you found me, and throws a backstage pass at her. And then he walks away, and she's kind of like, what's going on here? But she grabs the backstage pass because she's like, screw it, I'm not getting home tonight. Let me go in and at least enjoy the show because my car's not going anywhere. She goes in there and she ends up watching the show. She has a great time, and she ends up meeting the band. And Lilith, queen behavior, she ends up banging 4 of them back to back to back to back in one night. Icon status. 3 or 4 of them. I can't remember. 3 or 4. Regardless, icon behavior. And she ends up going on tour with them. They invite her on tour, and it goes from there. This as well, all 6 of these characters are so sad and like broken and down bad, but in different ways. And they're all just really struggling. Like the band is struggling, she's struggling, and they all kind of like connect over that mutual pain that they all have. And it's so fun. You do kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, especially like what I said about the like circumstance of it starting out. But it's so fun. I really actually love the character progression. I totally love the emotional connection that all these characters have. And there is even a little action in here, which I love. I love, like, they're obviously all in love with her, but then there, I think 2 of them. And they were my 2 favorite dudes too, because it was the saddest one and it was the meanest one. And they end up having some action together because they realize that like their anger towards each other was also like love. Oh my God, it's so good. So enjoyable. I love this series so much. And lastly, the Stay With Me series by Nicole Fiorina. So this one is 3 books following Mia and Ollie. So this one, I truly don't know how to like kind of explain. I don't know what like tropes it would fit into, but Mia is what? She's like 18 or 19. So she's not like a child anymore, but she's still living at home with her dad and her stepmom. And she is just getting into a lot of trouble. She was like stealing cars, wrecking them, whatever. And her dad and stepmom are just kind of at the end of their ropes with her and are like, we can't keep doing this anymore. You clearly have some problems that you need to work through. And they send her off to this like center, or like, I don't know, because it's not like it is kind of a school, like a boarding school, I guess, but it's for like kind of troubled kids. And she arrives there and she really struggles with any sort of emotion. She has like no emotion when she's doing any of these like bad things to people. So that's like a sociopath, right? When she arrives there, she ends up meeting Ollie, who is there, and where like Mia feels nothing, Ollie feels everything. He's very passionate, very emotional, very like soft boy vibes, and it's their romance and they end up connecting. This trilogy truly is wild. Like it goes on a wild ride. So in the first book, it's kind of Mia who's like struggling a lot with like her mental health. And then in the second book, it's very much like Ollie's turn to struggle. And for like, so Ollie's there for Mia in the first book, then Mia has to be there for Ollie in the second book, and then the third book is just truly insane. I personally didn't really love the third book, but I love the first two. Their romance. Ollie is just such a sweetheart. He's such a soft, sweet soul, and oh, just love him and the lengths that he goes to for Mia and just how they truly like ultimately fight for one another. It's just really beautiful. That's that series. All right, so anyways, I think that was my 8. One couple series that I want to talk about today. Like I said, I literally have more. So if we want a part 2, I'm down to do a part 2. I also can do a part 2 for the companion series as well, because I still have more on that list as well. So anyways, that is it for today's video. I don't know what's gonna, oh, Friday's gonna be it's gonna be another tier ranking video that I got an idea in the comments about it. So it'll be fun. I'm not looking forward to editing it. Those are a pain to edit, but they're fun to do. So anyways, you'll see that on Friday. And anyways, that is it for today, and I will see you when I see ya.